Okay.
Hello?
Recording is in progress. Anything you say from now on, Matt may have to edit it out. So, it's just more work for him, pretty much from here on
So
out.
easy peasy on Miles and my front, but hello, dear listeners.
Oh my God, hello.
Yeah, you once again
Uh,
wandered into the extended cold open, which will
yes,
slowly thaw
exactly.
into content.
This is, of course, always strikes last. If you were hoping for something else, you have come to the wrong place.
Yep, yep, it's true. We're gonna
Yep,
talk about
but we
Warhammer
are
here.
exactly. This is a Warhammer podcast about Age of Sigmar. Jack and I are holding down the fort. Matt is lurking in the background today, but we are very excited to be welcomed or to welcome onto the show for today's episode, Marcella, also known as Lil Morathi, and Owen Jackson of Wales. I feel like I had better bits than that actually, and I
Like, I'm sure that everyone on the other end of this podcast will, one, listen to it anyway, and two,
yeah.
agree in their silence that you nailed it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I love your silence is complicitness in the fact that I nailed
Yeah.
this.
Look, an overwhelming lack of disagreement means approval.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Well, thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you're
Second in
welcome.
that, guys.
Absolutely. So, today, of course, the reason we're all here is Age of Sigmar Worlds 2024. By the time this is released to the viewing public, it will be about a week away. How are you feeling?
So excited.
Yeah.
We've been prepping a lot. I'm on the team UN, so we got like the people from several different countries and not mostly America, I promise.
hmm
Preparing. Pedro's got a really sweet matrix that's very advanced and uses Excel spreadsheets in ways I've never imagined.
Nice.
Yeah. And also it's gonna be my bachelorette party right before World, so it's gonna be double awesome.
Is it in the same city at the same time, Marcella, or is it like 4 days ahead of it or something like that? Or is it like the night before the game one?
It's like the weekend before.
Okay.
So Sunday to Wednesday, Tuesday, we're
Nice.
gonna be in party mode.
Nice. Nice. That's gonna be
Yeah.
awesome for you guys.
Are either of you engaging in the masochism that is playing the singles event beforehand?
Absolutely not. No. It's
No.
we've tried it. We've tried it. Have you ever played the singles, Marcella?
Yes, I did.
It's a lot of Warhammer. It's too much Warhammer, some people might say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Mick was thinking about it, and I told him he was crazy, and as long as his scores doesn't dip, I don't care what he does. Yeah.
But
Like,
wait,
Yeah,
wait.
I mean,
Did you?
there is an
Oh,
argument that you kind of warm yourself up by playing in the singles. I think that
sure.
some of the English players are playing the first day and then dropping, regardless of how well they're doing.
that's how
Just
to
Interesting.
do
kind
it.
of,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
That would be the way to
interesting.
do it. Because otherwise you're playing 11 games. Insane.
Yeah.
So it's like 3 games, a rest day, and then like you really jump into it because you've like knocked any residual rust off with like the final
Mhm.
form list. I kind of like that. I think that's a little bit smart. But then again,
Mhm.
I'm the outside observer here. I mean, amongst you players in the grand tournament.
General wisdom is that it's too much. I mean, some people they'll travel over from Australia or,
Mhm.
they'll come from the Philippines or something or,
Mhm.
Canada and they'll be like, I want as much Warhammer as possible and I don't feel it'll compromise my team. But I don't know. I think there's always like, it's that I always use the boxer analogy. You don't
Mhm.
like fight. You don't have you don't have a few little scraps in the
Yeah.
build up to your big fight. You just keep yourself primed and go in. If you're not ready by the week of the tournament, then you're probably not ready. Full stop.
Yeah,
True.
fair enough.
But yeah, I think isn't Mick doing a some kind of drinking based tournament as well, or is
You
that
know,
fallen away?
I I don't know what's happening with that. I don't care what's happening with that in a lot of ways. You know,
Is
like,
that the night before the drinking base tournament?
it's the night before, yeah, and it was Drunk Hammer or Drinking Hammer. I don't remember what it was called, and but good for him if he wants to
Mhm.
do that.
Well, I'm gonna
There was
say right
always,
now. Oh, go ahead, Owen.
sorry, go
Sorry,
ahead.
I got cut you
I
off.
was going to say there was always a tradition of doing England versus Australia, which is the Ashes,
Oh,
Okay.
like which is kind of reflects the cricket match, the England
Hmm.
versus Australia Ashes. But I think for the first time ever, that's been canned. So I
Yeah.
think
oh,
yeah, which is a shame. But I think it's because they're taking it very, very seriously because serious business, Warhammer.
Yeah.
oh.
We're not playing with little toys here. No, God forbid we take it. Yeah.
No.
No, that's like
Very serious.
no fun allowed. Monastic levels of discipline and preparation. Ahead of the
Oh
big
yes.
game. I get it. Though I will say that if Mick's idea for this tournament does take off and Team Ireland takes it this year, people are going to be trying to figure out what the secret sauce is,
That's
which is
true.
in
Yeah,
fact the
yeah.
sauce.
No, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's a good level of drunk you have to be like the best at Warhammer. If you're not drunk at all, I think you actually perform not as well as if you're a little drunk. But if you're too drunk, your performance goes down.
I
There's
think
like
It's a
an
you might be
bell curve.
right.
algorithm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bell curve for sure.
Does it just like stop the second guessing? Is it like where you're just forced to like make quick snap decisions and like that little bit of
You're just,
buzz
I think
noise
it's that
helps
you're
you?
in the zone, right?
Yeah.
However you
Yeah.
get into the zone, I don't know that you necessarily have to drink, but there is a flow state that you can get
Right.
into where you're just like, I'm acting on pure reflex here, and that's how this is going, like,
I don't
That's
know,
true.
man. I've played Warhammer in a few different states of consciousness, and
hmm
I find stone cold sober to be the only way that I can actually play
Yeah.
properly.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Well,
I get a little bit.
everyone is different and everyone has a certain level of drinks that is optimum for
Mhm.
them. And then this is a secret of Team America is when they prepare for Worlds is they find out what everyone's preferred number of drinks is for each for like how they perform the best. So
Wow.
that's
Yeah.
part of the
Okay.
testing they do. So some people it's
Interesting.
0, some people it's 2 drinks. Bill
Right.
Souza maybe 6. I don't know.
Yeah.
Noah, I don't know about.
Noah at least 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. He's like the Jackie Chan of the crew. Like, remember that old movie, The Legend of the Drunken Master?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is apropos of nothing. I had a DVD of that where it was half in Mandarin, half in English, like overdubbed, and half subtitled, half not subtitled. And they didn't line up at all. Like there were
Oh,
parts in Mandarin with no subtitles, there were parts in English with subtitles, and like there was no rhyme or reason to any of it. But I
That
love
that
that
But
movie.
particular
is there?
DVD
wild.
sounds great.
I mean, you don't
So
really need to know the dialogue to what's going on in a Jackie
no,
Chan film, right? It's all about
exactly.
the slapstick and the fighting.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So, Marcella, you alluded to it earlier. You are on the UN team, and I think
Yes,
you're coaching this year, right?
I am. I am coaching. I was
Nice.
gonna play initially, then our coach was not able to make it. And I think it's
Okay.
important to have a coach.
hmm
So I switched roles. Yeah.
No, that's similar. I'm also not playing because we needed someone decent to be a coach. Like it's kind of an
Mhm.
interesting position you don't think about. And Owen,
Hmm.
you are playing for
I'm
Team
playing,
Wales.
yeah, I am indeed, yeah. So I'm the vice captain for the second year, but we've got a pretty like democratic structure in the team. We have a
Mhm.
captain who's in the captain's chats, but fundamentally all the decisions are made by 3 people. So Matt Mallow or Matthew Davis or Derek Erickson, depending on who he chooses to be.
Mhm.
He is the coach from a sort of strategy point of view. I'm the vice captain from a sort of just general view, and then Dan Arnold is the captain, and he's not playing. We then
Okay.
do have a secondary coach. We had some switches in personnel, but I think fundamentally you do see the difference of when teams don't have non-playing sort of crew with them, even if
Yeah.
it's just from a like making sure people are got bottles of water and things like that. But there's a reason why France always do well, and they have a gigantic entourage and trays of, people walking around with trolleys of fruit and water and stuff. So I think that the non-playing sort of personnel are really important for the how the team performs, definitely. So, and it's quite a big thing to like say, okay, I'm not going to play, but I'm still going to pay to be there and take the time off
Absolutely.
work. It's
Yeah.
quite a big commitment. So, like props to all the people that do that, because you do get to hang out with the community a bit more, and then you don't have the stress of playing, but we do still like playing, right? It's quite difficult.
No,
I find it
yeah.
difficult to coach.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm actually feeling really good. I had a baby a couple months ago, and so with the sleep deprivation, I'm like so thankful I'm not playing right now, because I think I would be
Yeah.
losing my mind trying to get in all those reps in my sleep deprived state.
Oh boy. Yeah, I have not been able to get a lot of games in because I've been preparing for the wedding, for the bachelorette party. I'm in school
Mhm.
full time, I'm working full time. So I think coaching is good because I've also I'm the only person on our team that's ever played at Worlds before. So I like know how
Okay.
the timeouts work. I know all the
Mhm.
people and how stuff goes. So I think I can at least contribute in that way.
You have Niels on your team, right? From Sweden.
Yeah.
He's played at Six Nations, so he should at least know. As I played him
Yes.
this year at Six Nations,
He did.
he's a lovely guy. I enjoyed. He kicked my ass, and I enjoyed every second of it.
He's an excellent player.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember, because it's, it gets quite loud in these rooms, and I remember, he was casting some spell, and I was like, all right, yeah, that's not great. And he's like, wait, what spell is this again? And he just has this like shit-eating grin. He's like, it's Blizzard. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine.
That's the only way to cast Blizzard. That should be
Yeah,
the rule.
exactly.
Like you're doing something bad and you're gonna get away with it.
Yeah. So the UN team, for people who don't know, is a team that's on standby functionally in case we have an odd number of teams. So you guys are the
Yes.
ringers, as it were,
Yes.
for Worlds. And who are you playing round one?
Belgium.
Belgium. Nice.
Belgium. Yeah, they got some pretty good players. They have some people that I couldn't find any information on online, so I don't know if they really
Ooh.
exist. But yeah,
Mystery
it'll be a
people.
tough round one, I think. I hear a lot of them like play with the French guys,
Mm-hmm.
so like they should be decent. So we'll see.
Yeah, I know quite a few of the Belgians. Three of them actually went to LVO the year that I went, so not this year, but in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I've been to quite a few tournaments in Amsterdam anyway, then they travel over for those a lot, and they're I think they do have some sort of players that could play for the French team, but for whatever reason they play for the Belgians. But yeah, we play them. I played their captain last year, Thibaut. I think he's the guy running that really interesting Slanesh list.
Their captain, I think it's
Yeah, the
Cyrus?
captain. Yeah.
He's a
Or maybe they
non-player?
changed the.
I think they
yeah,
changed it.
he's
I've
yeah.
got
He
all of
normally
this.
plays Daughters
We
of
can
Cain.
solve this.
Yeah. Oh, the doc guy. Yeah.
Yeah, the dot guy. He used to play Daughters with a Kronspine, but he's coaching I think this year. But then Thibaut is the first name on the list. I think he's a good player. Yeah, they're solid. Like I would expect them always to be top 10, top 8. I'm not sure where they finished last year. I think they maybe finished 6th or 7th.
I think they were 4th, right?
Oh, really? They were 4th.
They might have been. I mean, check the tapes, but
yeah. Someone,
I mean,
let us know in the comments what place Belgium was last year. This.
I mean, that's one thing
it looks horrible.
Sorry, Miles. I was going to say.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just confirming
thing
his Slanesh list is horrific. I don't want to play that, and thankfully I don't have to.
Yeah, it's they will, those Slanesh lists with all the big boys will surprise people, I think, if you haven't played it. But I was going to say, Marcella, it's quite good for the UN team, and when you talk about placings, they didn't get to play last year, so you don't really have a barometer. A lot of people are like, hey, we came 14th last year, so we want to beat that, or we came 10th, so we want to match that, or whatever. Whereas you don't really have that pressure per se.
No.
You just want to go out there and do the best you can, right?
Yeah, our goal is 12th. because UN didn't play last year, but the year before they played, and I think
Mhm.
they got 12th. So we want to do at least as good as that team.
Okay. I think the
Fingers
tricky thing
crossed.
with doing that every year, like all teams want to improve,
Sure.
Yeah.
but I think even between, because you played in Prague, right? I remember you brought
Yeah.
Legion of the First Prince, right? Like the
Yeah.
difference in the game and the level of play and everything, I think gets harder and harder every year. So
Every year.
if you're, as a nation, if you just kind of like stand still, it's really difficult because, everyone needs to keep up with the prep. And
Mhm.
I think there were probably teams in Prague that didn't really have matrices, and some people were going and treating it a bit like a holiday, whereas I think every team is
I
going to do as best they can, right?
can
Yeah.
confirm some of our guys were treating it like a holiday. Yes.
Mm.
Oh man, Ireland and Prague. That was a wild week for you
Yeah.
guys.
No, I made them all sign a like etiquette contract for this year. Be like, no one is puking. Like after the event, I don't care what you do, but like, I don't want to hear about anybody puking. I don't want to hear about anybody being hungover. Like,
No
you know
arrests.
your own limits. I trust you as adults, but we're not
Mhm.
putting up with any of this shit.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to have got more and more professional, if you want, for a different, as a
Sure.
term. It seems to have got more and more professional every year. Um, and I don't think that detracts from the fun because, when you
No,
play at top level, you get fun from being challenged. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
But I think too, it's about a respect for the effort we've put in, it's a lot of work prepping for these things. Everybody's been playing lots of matches, trying to make sure they understand every single possible match on their matrix and, the ins and outs of those and all the different permutations of lists out there. And like that's a lot of work. And to then throw it away at the end by being goofballs, like why would we put in that work next time?
Yeah. Respect for your
Yeah.
team and for every other
Yeah.
player there for sure.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's not just a show up on a Saturday kind of tournament. It's a different environment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned over the years. I think I played my first Six Nation 6 years ago, and in the last
Hmm.
game against the Northern Irish team, I like kind of gave a big take back to a player, and it ended up costing
Oh,
us the game and a few points, and then we missed out on third, and somebody
Hmm.
sat me down. It was actually Laurie, one of the England players, and was like, "Hey, man, don't give takebacks like that because you let the rest of your team down."
Hmm.
And I really carried that with me. The team is only as good as its weakest link, if you know what I mean. So you all kind of, there's no point one player like crushing 150 games and then one player like not deciding on their list till the end and, not getting in the reps and feeling a bit unprepared. Like I think it's better for the whole team to come up as a level together, and then
Hmm.
you win as a team, you lose as a team, and it can be a really rewarding experience though with all the camaraderie and everything. I'm sure you felt that in we first met in Ireland, didn't we?
Yeah.
Last Six Nations, Miles, and I'm sure you felt that. You know, you guys did really well as a team, and you're sort of building on that.
Hmm.
It's a really good environment to learn about the game in, right?
Absolutely. No, and we're a very small community and we try to punch above our weight. And one of my goals, so I was elected captain after Six Nations, and then we found out, oopsies, I'm not Irish enough to be captain. So Mick is going to be our captain on the day at the event, but I've been doing all of the like team selection and stuff, working with him and working with James,
Mhm.
um, sort of leading up. But yeah, no, one of my goals was to bring four new guys,
Okay.
right? Because we just don't have enough people who have world's experience in the environment, you know?
Mm.
And so that was like, okay, how do we get four new guys up to par so that, we can go in and they can hold the line while, some of our more experienced players take on the really hard matches or are trying to get those 20 O's, you know?
Mm.
Um, and we got four new guys. It's gonna be
sweet.
Great.
good. I mean, like obviously it was a high bar and like I would have been totally happy with three or two even, but like we're doing it for better for worse. And I think it's gonna be great. I think they're gonna have a great time. And yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Yeah, I
important
think
to cycle new
we're in a
people in.
similar spot. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
Marcella. Were you saying that you've got loads of new people, right?
Oh yeah, I'm just saying it's important to cycle, like as a nation, a regular nation
Hmm.
team, to cycle in
Hmm.
new people, so it's not just like an old boys club of the same
Absolutely.
8 people going. Yeah, that's a good move on your part.
I
Thanks.
think
And oh, and we were
we had
talking
to.
that you are also in a similar position where you're building community and really trying to get that. I've been describing the pipeline, right? Of
Mhm.
we need the people who have never played but are curious. That transition to the people who, play constantly at their local event, at their local store, to the people who will play local events, to the people who will travel, to the people who are interested. Every stage of that
Mm.
pipeline needs to be robust. Otherwise, we don't have players, to do this team,
Totally.
and
And
how are we getting that to,
also, I don't think players know how good they are until they're tested in the right environments. And like
hmm,
people can be, it's just as much about like knowledge and confidence. Like playing Warhammer is effectively just keeping loads of stuff in your head. So when your opponent does stuff, you kind of know where they're going with their plan.
hmm,
Um, and we had quite a lot of changes after last year's Worlds. Our captain stepped down, and we had quite a few experienced players step away. So we kind of had to build from the ground up with very similar to what you've described. We literally probably, if somebody became ill or had a family emergency, we would like our captain would have to play. It's not like there's just another person just to slot in, which
sure.
other nations have got that. They can just cycle in new players really easily. So I think we've got, I think, 3 people who have played at Worlds before, and then
Okay.
everybody else. Uh, Most people have played either at Six Nations before, but we do have one person that hasn't played at either Six Nations or Worlds. So,
Okay.
and it's just it's like a little duckling on the water. You just throw it on and
No,
it figures
exactly.
out how to swim, right?
Well, I was giving people the pep talk the other day because, like, we have these team practices, and obviously the experienced players tend to win those matches. They've been doing this for longer,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not that the other guys are bad. Like, it's a zero-sum game. Someone is going to lose every match.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just because you lose to Mick all the time doesn't mean you're not a really good player.
That makes
And
sense. And
it
to
takes until you get to that moment where you're actually at Worlds and you're playing against another team. You're like, oh, these guys aren't that scary. I can beat these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like managing that relative, I guess, sort of like a relative level of disappointment, or maybe like a like psychological like defeatism, where you actually are honing your skills against these people who've done it before and are really the
Mhm.
top of their game, and it doesn't mean you're bad. In fact, it's exactly where you should be to get better.
Exactly. Absolutely. Um, Owen, who are you playing in round one?
So we are playing the hosts. We're playing
Ooh.
the Dutch, the Netherlands.
Oh,
So we've played them. I've played in 2 worlds before, so this is my third world. So we've played them every time. So we
Oh,
played them in
wow.
Prague. We played them. I think we played them round 2 or round 3 in Prague. We played them the last round um, at last worlds, and then
Hmm.
round 1 this time. There's a funny story actually because we've been doing quite a lot of in our preparations. We've been doing quite a lot of scrims with other nations.
Hmm.
So we played against the Finns, the Germans, and the Scots. And then we had one lined up. We were the day before the World's Draw came out. We did our pairings for our scrim with the Netherlands,
Okay.
and then the next day we then drew them in the actual tournament. And
Okay.
we had a bit of a decision to make. It was like, well, it will sort of take the edge off the excitement if we like play all these games against our opponents, and then we then just roll straight into doing it in real life rather than on TTS. So we
Hmm.
actually decided as a team to cancel the scrim and
Oh,
keep the
wow.
keep the energy and the excitement and the little bit of the little bit of not knowing. We keep that and play them. So yeah, it should be good. There's some players that
What's what's the
I
what's
know
your
quite
record
well.
against them?
Good question. I think we've beaten them both times.
Okay. So it's a tall
Yeah.
order for round one.
It is, yeah,
Exciting.
yeah. So I think as a general point,
Mhm.
unless you get a real imbalance of like a team that came, I'm not going to call out any specific names, but a team that came in like the 20s, 21st, 22nd, whatever last year, and they're
Mhm.
playing against a top team, a top 3 team. Unless you've got that imbalance in round one, I think every round's going to be really tight.
Sure.
So, I mean, also with England playing Denmark round one, like I can't see either. Like last year, Denmark smashed them because England were not very well prepared. I don't think
Mhm.
that's going to happen this year. So even if you win, like I don't know, whatever the score is, it's going to be something like out of 160, let's say 82-78. If you win
Sure.
82-78, you might, or you lose, you might then immediately play Denmark in the second round, even if you have a super tight loss against a mid-table team. So
Sure.
it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be some really interesting games. I don't think that there's going to be a huge imbalance in the points at all because
Yeah.
everyone's prepared.
It's
How do you
it's
feel about that, Marcella?
I feel like the first one or two rounds, if you get like a really good favorable like matchup for your team, those are like the two biggest opportunities for you to like cap that team and get the most number of points. And like I feel like Denmark and England, like you said, it's gonna be a close game no matter what. So that kind of like hurts them at the end when you're like trying to get the most number of possibles to place like 1, 2, and 3, where they don't have like that first round opportunity to get like 120 points off of like a team that maybe didn't do so well last year. So
No,
having
we were
these even
talking,
matchups are
yeah, yeah.
great for the
No,
team.
we were talking about how the 20-0 system really it's not one that you would want to necessarily put in a local tournament because it really incentivizes punching down,
Mhm.
and at Worlds you don't have to worry about that as much because everyone is supposedly the best they can be,
Yeah.
some teams are obviously better than others or whatever, more prepared, more experienced, however we want to think about it, but yeah, you're right. Getting a lucky pairing first round. We're hoping we absolutely crush Northern Ireland in the first round. We managed to draw them.
We haven't
We played
talked about
them.
your pairing. We haven't
Oh
talked
my,
about yours. You've got the Civil War, right? That's
yeah,
crazy, really.
exactly. It's the troubles all over again. No, and what's fun is we play these guys literally all the time. They come down to all of our tournaments. We go up to all of their tournaments. Like, we've played this match. Like, we had a scrim against them, and we did not cancel it because we were like, well, whatever, it's fine. Like,
Yeah, it kind of
um,
makes sense. You guys really are in the same ecosystem for tournament play, like day to day throughout the year.
yeah, it's like a 2-hour drive down from Belfast to Dublin. So like, like that's not super far for them to come down for a weekend, especially for a GT, and they do pretty frequently, and we head up there. I still haven't been up. Every time they host a tournament, it's like a weekend that some like my parents are in town or like whatever. It's always like, and I've just had a terrible record. So I feel really bad. I've never been up, but I mean to. Uh,
That's okay. It's inadvertently helping you, Miles, because you're required to spend a certain amount of time in Ireland, so you're Irish enough next year. So
yeah, exactly. That's
that
true.
would have been time against the clock.
That's true.
When do you become Irish enough? Is it 3 years in?
Next year's Worlds, I would be Irish enough to be captain. So you have to live in the country for 3 years if you don't have citizenship, to
Oh,
be not
can
a mercenary. It's that I'm still technically a mercenary, and you can't have a mercenary as your captain.
be the captain. Yeah. Can you get citizenship like through? You're married, right? You're married to an Irish woman.
Yeah, no, I'm married to an American. We're both
Oh,
American.
I see. I thought
No,
she
we
was
just live here
Irish.
because it's
Okay.
dope, and I would
Yeah.
recommend it.
Critically, though, they do have an Irish baby, so
They have an
Yeah,
Irish
yeah,
baby. That should
Macker.
that's
count.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There we
He
go.
could be captain. He'll be great.
like a child emperor situation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Miles is the regent.
Yes. Yeah, no, I think honestly though, the Northern Ireland matchup is going to be good. We're all good friends, and we did beat them quite handily at Six Nations, so I think they are really pulling, like they're really excited to not have a repeat of that. So I think they're going to be putting in the extra effort. I did tease them for stealing a bunch of our lists, but you know, it's okay. We're all in the same. I know, right?
So, I mean,
How
I've been
dare
to
they?
enough team tournaments recently, and you tend to steal their best player anyway, don't you? Like I've seen Solomon play for you
Yeah,
guys a
yeah,
few
yeah.
times. So he was an honorary Irishman at Brothers War, right? I did
Exactly.
notice
Yes,
that.
I think that's right. And that was just because he couldn't go, and then we needed another guy, and then he was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, well, I can figure this out," and so we ended up grabbing him. But yeah, no, it's super
He's
easy
great.
when
He's a
you have
fantastic
him on
player.
your team.
Yeah, he's a killer.
Absolutely. No, and he's one of those guys like, all right, let's just throw someone under the bus to fight him because no one's going to win that match. And then we just try and do the best we can everywhere else.
Hmm.
But oh, it's going to be good. So
Talking about like, I was going to
yeah,
just ask you, sorry, Miles, I know this
no,
is your
no,
show and I shouldn't be asking you
that's
questions,
okay.
but you said you've got new players coming onto
Hmm.
the team. Did the armies that got chose for them, did the fact that they were new have a bearing on that? Because from a Welsh perspective, there was an element of that with our selections to a degree, in terms
Yeah.
of armies that are going to stick around or maybe be defenders, that sort of thing.
No, absolutely. We definitely thought about like, you know, the newer guys, they don't have as much experience on jumping around. Like, if we needed Mick to play literally any army in the game, he could ramp it up
Hmm.
in 2 months and we'd figure it out. He may not be the best person at it, but he could do it. Whereas, you know, some of
Yep.
these guys, they just don't have the experience to do that. And so when picking them, we knew like we are locking in one of their two main armies. You know,
Hmm.
like if Anthony's on the team, we're getting a Nurgle or we're getting an Ogres, and that's it, you know, and we have to be happy with
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Certainly we have Richie, and he was going to play that one list that he plays, and that was it from the get-go.
yeah.
You know, there was no talking him out of it, and that was so, and he's good at it, so it's not like that's a bad thing. But yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Um, and so we had to lean on our more experienced guys, Mick, James, and Dave, to sort of flex onto armies that they were going to be comfortable on, but were also, you know, team composition picks.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean that's the same for Wales, I would say. The more experienced players flexed around and then settled probably
Yeah.
last. Um,
And which ones
whereas
are
some
those?
of
Just
the
writing them down.
Yes, who's your best player?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what do they
Is
I'm
feel
it is it
uncomfortable with?
Owen or
Yeah.
It's not. It's definitely not me. No, no. I would say it's either Matt G or Math Mallow. So
Hmm.
that's our Seraphon and our Sylvaneth player. Math Mallow went 6-0 with Sylvaneth at Worlds last year. So
Oh my gosh.
he dilly
wow?
dallied with quite a few different options. I think we were looking at cities for a while. We looked
Hmm.
at Slanesh, and then he just went home to the trees, to his natural
That's
habitat.
Yeah,
Oh,
our Sylvaneth player. We had the same thing. We were trying to get him on Giants, and I'm actually happy we're not taking Giants now that everybody else seems to have taken them.
Mm-hmm.
when that you dare to be different, Miles. I guess it kind
Exactly.
of makes sense with Math Mallow. If I remember correctly, he was always like really into Sylvaneth, like before it was cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
yeah.
Totally.
I,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I had a local that was obsessed with Math Mallow. He plays Sylvaneth. My friend
Hmm.
Zach, he was
Mm-hmm.
always telling me about like Math Mallow's new list and like what he's
Yeah.
doing. I'm like, who is this guy? And then I met him
Yeah.
at Prague. It was
Nice.
great.
That's fantastic.
I, what
So
about you, Marcella? Are you taking the same? Are you just letting players take what they want, or is there like, did you push people into stuff?
Uh, Mostly people are playing what they are good at and what they're familiar with. When
mhm.
um so I didn't have anything to do with like picking the team or like whatever, but part of the application was like what armies you played, and they kind of took that into consideration. But we did have like a little bit of a hiccup where we had two players that mostly played ogres and they didn't have a lot of experience with like anything else that they were willing to play at World, so we had to kind of decide who was going to take ogres. Teresa won. She's going to
Mhm.
take ogres. And then Pedro's going to take broad stomp. So, there's a little bit of a overlap there of what people wanted to play, but mostly everyone else got to play what they want.
No, I was going through, and I think actually both of your teams got honorifics on Twitter from us, because you have the most number of aggro lists, Marcella.
Yeah. What do you guys mean by aggro? Like
Right. So
attacker
like,
style, or I'm gonna
you
come in and
have
charge you?
yeah, just like in your face, like really strong aggressive fighty list. So like Iron Jaws, but it's Blood Tooths, right? Or
Yeah.
right, yeah. And I think the Slaves of Darkness is Oops All Varangard.
Yes.
Ogre
A
Maw
technical
Tribes
term.
is Monster Trucks.
Yep.
And then Blades of Corn is Three Big Dogs.
Yeah.
So you can tell how we categorize our lists
Yeah.
in our matrix.
Secret
That's
insight
funny.
into the Irish team thinking with how that was
Yeah,
phrased.
exactly. Well, and that's what we ended up
Yeah.
doing for our matrix was we went through and gave an archetype to everyone's list. Like
Oh.
this is a mostly, like all the King Broad Stomps ones are obviously they're all carbon copies of each other because there's very little wiggle room in that army, just
Yeah,
in
but
general.
Pedro has a different triumph, I think, than other
Yeah.
people.
What a maverick.
Yeah.
Exactly. And actually, I want to say Bread has the most fun Skaven list of all of the
Yes.
ones. Because most of them were Plague Priests and Graciers, and he's actually
Mhm.
got a proper shooting one, if I remember right.
A lot of gutter runners, acolytes, clan rats. Yeah.
And he actually brought Warp Lightning Cannons.
2 of them, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm thinking of the right one.
Yeah.
I think the only thing with that list is it's going to come down and it's going to do its thing, and then if it doesn't do it, then it's all going to die.
Yeah. It's
So
true.
he knows what life he's living, right? Whereas
Yeah.
Miles, you think that the Welsh lists are the most meta, is that right?
Yes, you have the most meta picks. Right, because everyone that you've picked the most popular version of that list, of that army.
Interesting.
Right, like so obviously everyone's gonna copy Math Mallow, so he's leading the taste making in that sense.
Mhm.
But for Night Haunt, lots of Bladegeist Revenants in Scarlet Doom. That was the most popular Night Haunt list. Or Night Haunt build.
Not with Nagash though. It's the only Nagash.
No, absolutely. Obviously, it's a different take, but it's as I was making these bucketizing all of these lists.
Yes.
The Maggotkin of Nurgle list is it's very
Yeah.
similar to the one we're taking for that
Mhm.
matter. And I think Craig in Northern Ireland was playing that at Six Nations as well.
Yeah.
I got to play that one. What was it? The Kragnos and a bunch of Gluttons and Iron Guts. We're taking that one as well. So that's also, not to say that we're any better.
We call that one slamming and ramming, that list. That's just, just all of me.
Obviously, the King Broad one, everyone's taking a very, very similar list on that one. And then, you take Beasts of Chaos with Oops All Bulgors plus Bellicor.
Yes.
Which was the most popular Beast of Chaos. Although there was one very fun Beast of Chaos build I saw that was all infantry.
Yeah, we played against the Germans in the scrim, and we watched that play, and it's like 50 Raiders, 30 Combat Ungor, 20 Bestigor, 6 Bulls. So they use it. So because I love Beasts of Chaos, give me 2 seconds on the subject. So there's 4 armies. And I would say that there's 2 aggros, which are the 15 Bulls, the Bellicor, and then a few bits and bobs. So Casper from the Danish team's taking that, and so is Pete from the Finnish team. Like 1 drop, let's go, just literally commit.
Oh, that's a good point. You're 9 drops, I see.
Yeah, so mine is a little more of a wider sort of defender style list, and then the German list is even wider again. But I mean, my list is the list that I've been playing in singles for like 9 months. And it's so I've had to generate it to be a bit of an all-comer. So it has wizard finders to give me a bit of magic protection. I have a fight last artifact for combat. And then I have Be'lakor obviously, but then I have lots of bits and bobs of chaff. So I love playing it. But yeah, even though they do all have at least 6 bulls and some of them have 15, I think
Right.
that there are 3 slightly different styles there, for
No,
sure.
fair enough. You're calling out my lack of knowledge of Beasts of Chaos here in my
I mean,
horse
no, Mars. Fundamentally,
bucketization.
my bulls do come down. They blow
Yeah.
some stuff up, and then I Be'lakor what I haven't killed. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not really
No.
changing the archetype too much, but
Like, he's not far off. The general
no,
direction is there.
exactly. Yeah. You're not wrong. Maybe I'm just kind of trying to polish my ego by going, no. It's very different. Much like the
Well,
Gargant player who takes a different triumph. I'm like, hold on.
yeah.
I have a Zangor Shaman with Blizzard. Come on, it's completely
Yeah.
different.
And it's very fun. Like, don't get me wrong, it's all very fun. You know,
I love it. Oh
I
my
you
God.
I
know,
love playing it, to be fair.
yeah, no, and you're good at it. And realistically, all of these, these are builds that we were all got like, well, this is the end of the edition, right? We've built up to
Uh-huh.
this point. This is the culmination of
Yeah.
3 years of dialing in
Hmm.
these different books, you know. And outside of cities who didn't really show a huge amount of big showing in
Hmm.
terms of people bringing it, all of these books have been out for a good long while, and we've had a long time to really think about them and
Yeah.
get a lot of reps both into them and out of them. So it's been both interesting in the sense, like I felt like last year we had Gits come out, KO come out, and somebody
Hmm.
else, Hedonites and Blades of Corn all came out not too, like a little bit too close to the cutoff for us to have enough experience into all of them to really make an informed decision.
Hmm.
And
So
that definitely bit us because we didn't have Gits and we didn't have KO, and they were both
Yeah.
monsters last year. Whereas
Yes.
this one, it feels like the meta has been very stable for the last 3 to 4 months in
Hmm.
a good place, but stable.
and you
You
guys
know,
kind of kept it to that, right? Because you cut out some of those newer curveballs they threw out in the books, like the Dark Oath stuff. That was not in play, if I understand.
Yeah, correct.
yeah.
Okay.
Mick
So it
was
really is
saying
a
that even England
snapshot.
was like, hell no, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah. Wow. They've changed.
From direct experience, no one wants to deal with that.
I do like the game state. I think it's a true representation of like skill and time and effort now. It's nobody's coming in with a brand new book that people don't
Mhm.
know. It's not got that singles thing. Everyone's had plenty of time. I think if you look, probably the book, I don't know, I know this isn't a show about like the whole edition or whatever, but I think looking at books that have come out, I think it
Mhm.
just goes to show how good that Nurgle book was, even though it was not
Absolutely.
particularly well received. Like like a lot of teams are taking it. A lot of teams obviously are taking a similar build, which is maybe like a negative, but
Mhm.
um, I think the strength of that writing and how it came through, and it's a great teams list. I think that probably goes to show how good that book was or is still.
No, well,
Yeah.
people still taking the Stormcast Eternals book, which was
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
that's
first book of
crazy.
the like, typically speaking, in Games Workshop classic fashion, those are the worst books by the time the edition
Yeah.
rolls around, and we're bringing orcs, so was
There's
that my
something to
idea?
that.
Yeah, it was my idea, but
You just love
It is a
destruction,
nice
Miles. Come
testament.
on.
yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So much of this stuff has kind of stood the test of time, and I do like that call out in the Nurgle book. I mean, I know everyone poo-pooed it initially, which completely on brand for Nurgle, but it is powerful. It still does this thing. It finds a way, and I think a lot of those other books do too. Even like the ones which in maybe prior editions would have been completely like erased from representation, still have strength in them, and that's why the game is so fun because it doesn't become stale with like 5 top dogs in the last year just rotating through who wins the tournament.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, talking about a team tournament, you probably remember that, Marcella. Do you remember like Prague? It was everyone took dragons, everyone took Thunder
Yes.
Lizard Seraphon, everyone
Hmm.
took like there was a lot of living cities with all the fulminators just blowing people up. And
Yeah.
like it didn't really feel like there was a huge amount of like variation or like players were just playing what was good rather than maybe what they knew really well. Whereas I think now, with the addition being right at the end, players like coaches and captains are trusting their players to be like, hey man, you've been grinding this for 18 months, you're brilliant with it, you take it. Like that has more value than switching around, I think.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that was a big part why they wanted me to take Legion in Prague instead of Doc. And even though I was like very experienced with Doc, and they were like, okay, learn Legion in 2 months. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then we had that battle scroll drop like a couple weeks, I think, before list lock, where it added like extra VPs for killing like 3 of the dudes in my army. And I was like, great. So yeah, I think
Cute.
having players take what they know is like so valuable.
No,
You're
absolutely. And
under
I'm
you're under like a lot of
certainly,
stress during the game. So like if
Mhm.
you just like know it better, like that kind of cuts down on the stress of like what do I have to do? And you can like autopilot more.
Yeah. I'm certainly hoping that a bunch of these Gargant players jumped on the bandwagon. Same with these Corn players, with the, 2 to 3 to 4 Bloodthirsters and some Blood Warriors, That I definitely felt like that, you'd get a matchup last year and it was like Gits and you were like, oh shit. And then you realize that like oh, this guy doesn't play Gits. He just wants to play Gits because somebody made him and I actually have a good shot at this.
That's a real fair point. Like that delta in strength between the player you brought because they've shown how good they are, which is a representation of the armies they like and all the reps they have with them and that muscle memory they've developed versus throwing them into something brand new and powerful, which they're going to just lizard brain in the wrong direction. That's huge. And with the Giants, Miles, that they haven't like practiced like the wrist throw to get those boulders from the terrain all the way across the
Exactly.
table with Dead
It's
Eye.
all in the wrist.
Yeah.
Rolling that 2 up, baby. Rolling that 2 up into a
Yeah.
6.
Exactly.
And the 4 up for mortals, I mean, so important.
Yeah.
Just laser. Yeah. Flipping that point on its head as well is I've impressed upon my team to say, like, if you see a team and they're taking something a little bit off, like you have to give them even more respect than if they're taking like a meta pick or an inherently strong army.
Mm.
Like
Mhm.
people who don't know who Jacob Brandon is and they see that his Cruel Boys list, they might be a little bit more, they might be a little disrespectful towards it. And I'm like, no, flip it on its head. Like if you see people taking, I don't know, let's say Beasts or Cruel Boys or Iron Jaws, something that's a little off meta, or not thought of as being incredibly strong, like their captain will have only let them take that if they really know what they're doing. So
You're right.
I think that those, and then you've seen with some of the teams, they've got a lot of off meta picks. Like Steve Follows is the only guy from the England player, Steve Follows. He's taking 40 or 50 Black Knights with a Coven Throne.
Yeah.
Which if you
That's
didn't know
gonna
the
be
UK
a
scene,
nightmare.
like
That's
he's
awesome.
gone 5-0 with that. Yeah, he's gone 5-0 with that multiple times, and he's really good with it. So it's like if you just turned up and be like, hey, as long as I, doesn't get his charges off, blah 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 blah. But there's some really interesting stuff out there, and you have to respect players who are taking.
No, it was a nightmare. I think I ended up with 60 categories of potential lists when we did our bucketization. And like the people bringing I think England's bringing kangaroos and huracan wizards for their
5 of them.
Wow.
That's going to be a nightmare. I don't know how that's going to work, but I don't want to have to play it, and so I'm happy I don't.
This actually has given me a really fun idea. I hope we can run with, and excuse the interjection in our flow, but these off-meta fun lists, which are somehow being piloted work so well, is completely on brand for our co-host Matt, who can't speak for himself right now. So I think, Miles, you got to find each of these guys and girls
Sure.
at Worlds and give them one of our dice.
I will
And
do
just like a
that.
little bit kudos, like way to go, you. We can call them Matt's
Way to go.
Mavericks or something in this
Way
later
to
segment.
take.
That's cute.
Oh,
Yeah, I saw a Slaves to Darkness list that's like 50 Chaos Warriors.
Yes, this is great.
wow.
Yeah, like that looks obnoxious. And it's there to be that thing that doesn't die,
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's what you want in a team in a team pick is that thing that doesn't die.
Also, I think that taking an off-meta list means that you disrupt people when they're like, oh, okay, cool, you're bringing, when you see a list and you know what it does, It
Yeah.
puts you in a certain, it relaxes you into playing your game more because you're like, I understand what the threats are. I understand what my spacing needs to be. I know what tactics he or she wants to do, so I can not give them an easy tactic. Like you play Khorne, you don't just put something next to the altar to give them that, or you pick off the units to stop them doing surround and destroy. But if someone turns up with an army and you're like trying to figure out exactly, you've done your matrix and you realize maybe you've read up about what it does, but then when they start playing it, you're like, oh shit, this is actually how this works.
Yeah.
That can be really unsettling. And I think a lot of the top teams that you'd expect to do well, like the French, the Danes, the English, they scored really low on the meta pick list because they saw what the Danes did last year, and they're like bringing armies that subvert your preconceived ideas about what a Lumineth list looks like or a slaves list looks like. Like most slaves lists will be 12 Varangard, 5 Knights, Be'lakor, a Sorcerer Lord. But then Freddie Leggett's list from the England team is like Demon Princes, Warriors, 60 Splintered Fang that all come back at half strength because of Ravagers. And it's this is going to play very differently to a smash and pin Varangard list.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of value in playing off meta, definitely. At the end of the edition, at least.
Sure, yeah.
I feel like I talked a lot there. Sorry.
No, it was good
That
talk,
was a good
Owen.
explanation.
Yeah. You've buoyed the podcast with these thoughts, so do not feel regretful about them.
I mean, frankly, people get to listen to Jack and I pretty much every single time. So like, it's...
Hey, I listen to your podcast. You guys are great.
Oh,
Cheers.
thank you.
Thank you.
And you have great merch.
Yes. Oh, we did. Good,
Quality
nice
tested.
segue. Thank you, Marcella.
Anytime.
We did launch alwaysstrikeslast.com actually now redirects to the site. So it's no longer some obnoxious Squarespace site. It's alwaysstrikeslast.com.
Crushing it.
Exactly. I actually think I got the we use Printful, and they let you do like I can get a certain amount at cost from them.
Ooh.
And so I think I have enough shirts that I don't have to wear any shirt that's not a Always Strikes Last shirt the entirety of Worlds.
Nice.
It's going to be like a walking billboard.
Yeah.
You'd love to see it. You'd love to see it.
You do go through a lot of shirts. I don't know if, like that I feel like was the secret that I didn't know from last time. Between the changing of jerseys, right? But then after you're done playing, you're like, I want to get out of this stinky jersey, whether it's yours or not. And then you're using another shirt, and then, and pretty soon you run out of clean shirts because you didn't think that you were going to wear 3 shirts every single day.
It's true. And every game, I feel like, feels like you're 4-0 and you're on your 5th game and you're about to win the GT. Like that's the amount of pressure like every game at Worlds feels like. And so like you just sweat through whatever you're wearing gets sweaty. Yeah.
That makes sense. It's gonna be like a math problem out there to properly gauge what you need to bring and factor in how many shirts you have to swap or give away to people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So to kind of culminate our Worlds discussion, how are you feeling about your first round match? Do you think you're going to crush them? Do you think you're going to lose, or what's going to happen? And then do you feel like you've brought an interesting angle? What's your secret weapon this year? And we won't tell anybody, but like
you go ahead, Marcella.
Yeah, so our secret weapon this year is Pedro's matrix spreadsheet thing that he built. It's got like a lot of fun buttons that like do things that we can click like during pairings to get like new calculations about like what the rest of like the pairings round is going to be like without giving too much away. So I really like the spreadsheet he built. That's our secret weapon. Also, we have a good mix of players that like their armies and they know what they're doing. And our first round matchup is going to be hard. I think if we like take a bunch of points off of them, like I think we would be happy with that, like not getting capped or like getting a close score. I think a win is not out of the question, but unlikely, but we'll see how it goes.
I mean, I know it's a team that, came together out of necessity, but you've got some great names, some great players, and some great lists. So I think you're going to do great. It's my prediction.
And the only Warhammer couple at the event as well. I think they are a
Oh,
couple,
that's
right,
true.
Marcella? Or
Oh,
I'm
you
not
mean like
sure.
Ryan and
I don't know.
Teresa?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
which
they're
is
both on
cute.
the team. Yeah.
Yeah,
Are
that's
they a
great.
couple now? I don't know. They have a
I
on and
don't
off.
know.
I don't want to assume.
No, fair enough. And
Okay.
we
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah, we'll edit that bit out, right?
Yeah.
Um, for me, with the Welsh, I would say our secret weapon, without being too like mushy about it, is that we've spent a hell of a lot of time together as a team. Even just like we have team weekends where we don't play Warhammer and we go like paddleboarding together and do escape rooms and
I
all
love
this other
that.
stuff. And we,
That's
Oh.
really
yeah, we've played
cool.
like we all went to see the Barbie movie together last year, which was great.
Nice.
Oh.
And that's why we ended up going to Brothers War, as it was 6 Kens, and then our captain dragged himself up and dressed as Barbie, which was
Yes.
mortified. So like things like that, and spending a lot of time together, with our weekly chats, and just every time we play now, we have like rotation of who stays in the rooms together. So basically, there's no cliques, and there's all these like cute little relationships that we've got with each other, and there's lots of camaraderie and stuff. And I think that goes a long way, when you want to pick each other up after a bad loss or
Mhm.
celebrate together. So definitely our secret weapon, I think, is going to be our team spirit. We won best favorite opponent at Six Nations last year, so
Yep. We
I
voted
think
for
that
you.
was
I'm pretty sure.
yes, thank you. Yeah, we had a really good time, so I think that was as being the bedrock for the success. So, and then round one, I mean, I'm going to back us. So yeah, we will beat
Yeah.
the Netherlands. I'm not
Nice.
sure by how much, because I don't know. I don't know. I don't think anyone's going to get a real like pumping, because as we've made reference to through the course of the show, it's like everyone's played a lot of games. We're at the end of the edition. We all know, the push and pull of certain missions. We know how to deploy. So, factoring in a few nerves and things like that. I think, let's say, are we going to win? Let's say 88-72. There we go.
Okay.
That
Oh.
mathematically works.
Mark
Does
it
that
down.
work? Yeah, that does work. Yeah.
Another Worlds has
Um,
come and gone, and I failed to get March Madness style brackets made up for the first round. Where we can you can submit who you think will win each matchup of the first round, and
Yeah.
there'll be a pool or something. So next year we'll do it. Probably, probably not.
Maybe.
I like the idea. I want to see that happen. That'd be fun.
I think that would be great. Yeah, for us, and Owen, I love leaning into the camaraderie. I think that is so huge. I think Team Ireland has come a huge way as a community, and we're really proud of how far we've come, and I'm hoping that we can show everybody else that like we're here and we mean business, and we're not just a team that gets arrested that one time. Our secret, to be a little bit more trite though, our secret weapon is Richie. Nobody wants to play him. He's the Spanish bull, and he's you mess with the bull, you get the horns. That's how this is gonna play out.
Love it. That's great.
Great redemption arc.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I love it.
I'm hoping we're gonna win versus Northern Ireland. Obviously, they're great and we love playing them. They've got a stacked list. They know exactly who we are, and so like you could not. I don't think we could go into an opponent that was more prepared to play us.
Got it.
And so I think that's going. I mean, we also get that in reverse, so it's going to be really interesting. I think we've got the edge, but it's going to be tight, and we'll have a hell of a game.
Nice. Well, I'm
Amen.
rooting for all of you
That's
guys in your respective journeys.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Cool. I think we've come to a good place. What do you think, Jack?
I think we have. We've once again given our listeners an exciting bite-sized glimpse into Worlds, some of its titanic personalities on their, incredible pre-game kind of like thought journey to victory. So yeah, I think that it's a good spot for today, despite my word salad.
No, thank you, Marcella. Thank you, Owen, for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to
Likewise.
just kick back and chat about this. I will see you both in a couple weeks.
And I will be there in spirit. Thank you
There we
guys
go.
so
Jack's-
much.
You'll be there in spirit.
Thanks for having us.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been great.
Likewise. Now the only question is, who will get the last word?
It's gonna be Matt. He's gonna unmute himself and get the last word.
Exactly. This thing.
Or we call it there. That's okay.
That's right. Any way to end.
That's all right. He's probably got stuck in some work meeting, and that's what happened. So
Yeah, he's explaining to some irate person why the pixels are off by like 2.
yeah, exactly.
right now.